Hey guys, Scott and Vanessa Martindale here with Blended Kingdom Families. At BKF, we believe now is the time to change the modern day interpretation of the blended family.
Absolutely, you guys. As a blended family ourselves, God laid it on our hearts to build a ministry that helps support blended families by equipping your marriage, uniting the family unit, and igniting your faith. Our mission is that you would be touched by God and experience His goodness through this ministry, that your family would have practical skills, resources, and tools to help you live that abundant blended life.
Got it.
Got
Ready?
it. Okay. Yeah.
Hey guys, Scott and Vanessa Martindale here with Blended Kingdom Families, and today we are going to dive into surviving to thriving at motherhood.
Yes.
So, all about mommies and motherhood and how do you do it and how do you balance all of those things. So, and this is going to be kind of it's very personal with you and I.
Yeah.
So, we have four. We have
Cuatro.
4 boys.
Cuatro niños.
4 boys and 2 dogs, both girls.
Yes.
So we have a 14-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 3-year-old.
Yes.
And then we have 2 golden.
2 golden puppies.
It's a lot of stuff going on in our house.
Yeah, it's loud all the time. There's a lot of
Yes.
noise. A lot of noise. It smells because they're boys.
Yes.
And there's dogs.
Yes.
And
it's impossible to keep a clean house. So that's just out the door.
Yeah, that's totally out the door.
It's out the door. Okay. But really what we're going to get into, and I know a lot of our listeners, you know, they see it, they feel it, they live it, they have chaotic lives.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in blended families, it can be even more chaotic with the comings and the goings of kiddos.
Sure.
But I think every mom out there wants to be the best mom they can.
Yes.
And it's a struggle and it's tough, and I give it to you. You do an amazing job.
Well, thank you.
But I want to we're going to dive into some questions, hopefully to help our audience kind of understand how this whole flow can go, how they can, again, go from just surviving to thriving. Mm-hmm. So how do you prioritize your marriage over all the children? So I get to be more important. That's awesome.
Yes.
How do you prioritize being wife over mother?
Wife over mother. You know, that's where I'm called right now. Wife, mom, daughter, friend. I would say that, you know, God is my number one, and if I'm not filling up with Him every day, then I'm not going to be the best wife that I can be. And if I'm not being the best wife that I can be, then that's going to trickle down to our kids, and I'm not going to be the best mom that I can be. Starting the day off, 1, with Jesus. 2, just being intentional about that time. You know, our life is really busy. So we get up, going busy first thing in the morning. I'm getting the boys ready. You know, you're going off to work. I'm going off to do the ministry stuff. And so typically it's that time in the evening, you know, that you and I have that time to connect. And it's just being intentional about it. It's being intentional about putting the distractions away, putting the phone away, putting the emails away, putting all of that stuff that comes second, even after the boys are going to bed, and, you know, having that time with you, and then you and I having that time together with God, praying together, reading the Word together. You know, those are, I would say, you know, for me, it's just the intentionality.
You literally get up early in the morning and you go into your closet. Like
on the white furry rug.
Yeah, she has a white furry rug, and she goes in her closet, and that is her Jesus time. Like that is, and a funny story. Just remembering this story. I remember you were telling me this one time. You were in there, and you were so into your moment.
Oh man!
And you had a visitor. So which was just priceless.
I remember I was worshiping, and I mean it was just this like. So I was just so taken over, like in the presence with the Lord, and I was just bawling, but it was like this, it was just this sweet moment with the Lord, and I'm just like worshiping Him, and I'm crying, and all of a sudden I feel these 2 hands on my knees, because I'm on my knees like in posture, and I open my eyes, and Shay, our 6-year-old, is literally knee to knee, and he's like, Mommy, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm worshiping Jesus. Like, come on, join me. But I just remember, like, it just shocked me in that moment because, you know, it was my quiet time and he had like snuck into my closet at like, I don't know, it was probably like 7 o'clock in the morning and greeted me in that time. It was a very sweet moment.
I just, you know, I can just imagine that because they don't really know bounds.
Yeah.
So it's just more like, where's mommy? Where's daddy? You know, and they go into that.
Yeah.
But I love that you put that time in. It's the investment of time so that the rest of your day, again, as we wake up and get going, it is full speed ahead.
Yeah.
We have kids going to 2 different schools. Somebody's going here, somebody's going there. It is full get ready time.
Yeah.
And it's with so many little kids, it's like an assembly line. It's breakfast, brush the teeth, getting them ready, you know, all these different things. And they don't always cooperate. So
oh no, you never know what it's going to be like when you wake up in the morning. You just
exactly.
Don't know.
So having that time is I know it's very important to you. So a lot of moms who have, or a lot of families who have multiple kids, we understand that there's always something going on with someone.
Sure.
You know, you got one crying over here, one's wanting a snack, one's wanting a drink, and the other one's maybe got a real problem they got to solve. So as a mom, how do you justify sacrificing time to devote to each one individually without, and how do you justify that?
Yeah. You know, I think you learn to know your kids. You learn to know like specific times, like for example, when they come home from school in the afternoon, I know that the first thing that Shay wants is a snack, and you know, Case wants to play, and you know, Grayson wants to build Legos, and so you know, I think just using that as an example, I'm like, okay, well, while he's eating his snack, I can go do this one with this one or this one with that one, setting that time apart. With Michael, our oldest being 14. Having mom and son dates, teaching him how to date, how to treat a lady, being intentional with that, whether that's every other Friday or a day on the weekend. Grayson, he is my shopper and he is my cleaner. He loves to go grocery shopping. He loves to help me load the dishwasher. And so it's just in those little moments of like the everyday things, and tasks and stuff that we do. It's an opportunity for me to connect with them and be like, hey, Grayson, come over here and help me, fold laundry. He loves doing that. Like, that's awesome. I have a kid that loves to fold laundry. Case loves to dance. He's always like, Mommy, look at my dance moves. And he tries to break dance. And so, I have one child that loves to dance. And so that's fun. We enjoy that together. How I justify it, for me, it's just going to God and, one thing that I've learned to do is, ask God, like, what is your agenda for me today? And with with the boys, is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything that you want to show me, about our boys? Is there anything spiritual going on with them, whether that's an attack? And me, I'm a visionary person. I'm a dreamer. That's how I feel God speaks to me. And so he'll show me. He'll show me if I'm missing the mark with them. But how I justify it, I think, is, I go to the Father for that. I go to get that understanding and reassurance from Him.
Well, and I think it's also, one of the things that I think you and I do, and I don't know if we do it as often as we probably should, but it's kind of watchful of each other.
Oh,
going,
yeah.
hey, I think you need to go spend some time with, with Michael, or I know just the last few days I took Michael on a trip for the last
guys
trip, and we went and spent a couple of days hunting. Just some opportunities for parents as you look at each other and you see kind of some deficiencies in their time and saying, oh, why don't you go do this, or why don't you take so and so on a dinner date?
Yeah.
But it is tough, and I think as much as we want to be perfect with all of them, we know that we're going to miss the mark.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that moms deal with kind of I'll just call it a term of mom guilt, of that situation that you missed after, and you're like, why didn't I see that?
Yeah.
Or, why didn't I notice that? And I don't know, maybe moms feel it more than dads do. I don't know. But you specifically, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with mom guilt? what situations have you seen where that has come up for you, you know, and how do you handle that?
You know, I think a lot of it's just checking your posture in certain moments. I think it's, you know, again, when you're experiencing those moments of guilt, okay, God, did I miss something? What's the lesson in this? What are you trying to show me in this situation? I'm trying to think of, you know, an experience recently where I've had that mom guilt. You know, the one that comes to mind is that situation we with Michael in the car. You know, why, and I talked about this on our recent podcast, but it just stands out to me because it was just such a pivotal moment where, you know, he said, Mom, why did God give me divorced parents? And I had the opportunity to explain to him, you know, God did not cause that. You know, your father and I did, and, you know, go from there, ask for forgiveness. But, you know, in those moments, they're all teaching moments. They're all moments that we can go to the Lord and just say, okay, like, what do you want to teach me in this moment? What wisdom do you want me to gain from this? How can I do this better next time? It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to grow in knowledge and wisdom. And, you know, and that's what it says in Scripture as well, is that when we ask for it, God's going to give it to us. So it's just checking our posture, I think, as moms, and just being aware of that, you know, being aware that we have access to that knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. Those lessons never stop coming.
No.
So you mentioned before, we are very busy, but like most families, all families are busy. So one of the things that I think that is great to discuss is, you know, wife, mom, student, the ministry, great friend, you know, all of those things that you have to be. How do you juggle all those and keep God first?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is knowing when to rest. It's so important and it's vital to the health of life, of your spiritual walk, of your marriage, of, you know, your children. Knowing when to rest, knowing when to say no. You know, and again, it's keeping your priorities. If I'm putting God at the beginning of my day, if I'm starting my day off with God and I'm filling my cup with Him, then that is going to sustain me throughout the day. God is my number one, and if He's not, then I can't be the number one for my kids. I can't be the number one for you. He has got to be my number one, and if I am filling up with Him every day, if I'm in the Word, if I'm praying, doing all of those things, then you know, it's just going to manifest in everything else that I'm doing as, you know, a ministry leader to our employees and, you know, to all the people that I come in contact with, to the boys, to you, to our family, you know, members and friends. And again, it's just the prioritization, you know, knowing when to say no, knowing when enough is enough. And again, it's asking God, like, God, do you want me to do this? You know, what is your plan for me? Do you want me to, you know, go on this vacation, or, you know, and that might sound silly, but again, it's like, it's we can make our plans, you know, but God knows best. And sometimes when we're getting caught up in the hustle and bustle in these busy seasons, I think we forget to pause, be still, and lean on God and say, hey, you know, what is your plan for me in this season? And it might just be, you know what, I want you to go to school, I want you to do this, and I want you, you know, to do this. And, you know, it may not be what I want to do, but, you know, if that's God's plan, trust and obedience, and ultimately it's going to bless me. Ultimately, it's going to give me the strength, and asking God for that supernatural strength. You know, this past spring, full-time grad student, the ministry launched, you know, we have 4 boys, you know, COVID. I mean, and I just was like, Lord, there's no way that I can do what I feel like you're calling me to do. But I just felt like He kept saying, like, my grace is sufficient. Like, that was just what kept coming to mind. So I would pray for supernatural grace. God, give me the supernatural grace to get through this. And had an amazing semester in school. We launched the ministry. I mean, God has just been knocking my socks off. But again, it's like, when you don't think that you're capable, He will equip you. You know, where He's leading you, He's going to sustain you. He's going to equip you and carry you through that. But I have to be going to Him and seeking Him. And then there's some seasons when He's like, I want you to rest and like not do anything.
Yeah. I think that's important that people understand that there are seasons for this.
Sure.
There are seasons of growth. There are seasons of equipping. There are and there's definitely seasons of rest.
Yes.
Where you need to take that break. You need to recharge. You need to kind of take that pause. And I would be mindful to married couples to be in connection with your spouse in those.
Sure.
Because I know in some cases, you may be in a season of rest and all of a sudden I'm not.
Yeah.
Or I'm in a season of rest and you're like, we've got to do this and this and this. And I'm like, no, I'm in a season of rest.
Yeah.
And you're like, didn't tell me that one. So I think it's important, and I think and that's something you and I can do a better job with, is just understanding where our seasons kind of collide and taking that season of rest.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we've talked a lot about putting God in the mix first.
Sure.
And in helping that balance, or helping it almost cease the waves that exist after.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit kind of beyond that first step, and specifically as you address maybe somebody who's a new mom. And now granted, our kids are a little bit older, and I will tell you, as the kids get older, it does get a little more complicated, but it does get a little easier too.
Yeah.
So whether you're a new mom and you're having a new baby, or maybe you have toddlers, if you could give advice to a mom in a couple of different seasons, beyond that first step, which is making sure that your time with God is there, what advice would you give them on how to juggle those priorities?
I would say, God first always, but if you're in a season of you just birthed a baby, you're in the infant season, and you're not sleeping, and you wear yoga pants every day, and if you get a shower or get to brush your teeth, like, that's awesome. Remember being there, and I think it's just giving yourself that grace. The spirit of comparison that's a hard one, especially being a mom, because social media and all these other things where you might see these moms that are like their makeup's fully done, they're all buff, they've been working out, they're achieving all these goals and dreams, and you're like, I just had a kid, my body is doing things that it has never done before, and I'm not working, I'm not, and that's okay. It's I think remembering that season that God has called you in, and we have to remember our motherhood ministry is the most important ministry that you will ever have. It's the most important ministry that you will ever have, because in our situation, we have 4 boys, and I never understood the weight of that. And I remember one day a lady explaining this to me, and she was like, Vanessa, God does not just give anyone 4 boys. And I was like, whoa. And then she spoke a prophetic word over me. And I even remember, when Michael accepted Christ, being on the bathroom floor and praising God, and just in this moment of, my son accepted you as a savior, that God was like, your motherhood ministry matters. Like, it matters. It is life and it is death to our children. Our boys are the future lions of these tribes that they are going to be raising. And I remember, God has spoken to me so much about being a mom, and that, you could be raising the next Billy Graham. You could be raising the next Robert Morris or Jimmy Evans. And that's how we need to treat our ministry as a mother. It's so vital. It's so, it's just so important. And, if we get that wrong, if you think about it as like all these glass balls, and I've told you this before, I'm like, I've got God, I've got you, and I've got the boys, and those are my glass balls, and I could be juggling some plastic balls, but I can't drop the glass balls. If I drop those, like, what's left? And so, so I would say, if you're in any season as a mom, it could be newborn, it could be toddlers. Toddler season was a rough one for me. You know that. I mean, it was rough. God was calling me to do things that I was like, yeah, you've got the wrong person. I'm not equipped. The enemy told me over and over, you weren't made to be a homeschool mom. You can't do this. They're better off at school, someone else teaching them. I remember that was a big one that the enemy would like pound in my head, is like, you weren't made for this. And God was just like, no, like I made you, like I gave you those children, like you were made for this. And so, I know in those seasons it can be tough. You have no idea what you're doing. It's like you're doing this all for the first time and you don't want to mess up. But again, it's just remembering, like, God's grace is sufficient and it covers you. And to just remember that he sees you. He sees all the work that you're doing. Some days are going to be hard. Some days you're going to celebrate. Some days you're going to be like, yes, he can hold his bottle. Yes, he is pottying on the potty. Like, we're not in pull-ups anymore.
That was a good one.
That's a great one. But then there's those seasons where you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and everything that you're doing is not stopping them from crying, or you're cleaning up throw up because they got a tummy bug, or, it's just, I think it's finding the beauty in all of it. It's finding the beauty in all of it. It's finding the joy in it all. I don't know if that.
No, I think it's great. And I think so many, parents, they get into these situations where it is a rough season, and again, that idea of questioning, am I equipped? Am I good enough to do this? Can I be a great mom and a great wife and a great whatever that may be? Always questions. And I think that just understanding that God absolutely does equip you. He does prepare you for that, and he's given you the grace. It may be tough for that moment.
Yes.
Trust me. I mean, I remember going through those moments with you and seeing how hard it was, having 3 babies in 3 years.
Your fault.
That was my fault. But I remember being in that season going, oh my gosh, when 3 were in diapers. That was interesting.
That was a testament.
Yeah.
That was a test of the marriage.
Yes.
Woo.
That was tough. And, but now coming out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing, I remember the last time we were like changing pull-ups. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't changed a pull-up in like a month. I'm like, what happened? And you'll see those victories coming. And I know as moms, I know it can be tough. And I know, again, you mentioned the comparison, the Instagram type of world we live in, where it's just one snapshot of whatever reality you want to face. But the truth of it is I've loved watching you be a mom. You're a great mom, and you love our boys. And I remember those great moments, and I'll see those and always love those.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I will say, it's been one of my greatest joys is being a mom, being your wife, and I love that we get, we wake up every day to new mercies. We wake up to God's promises, and each day is an opportunity to love them. To be thankful for everything that he's given us. We have healthy boys. That's one of my biggest thanks that I give God in the morning is like, thank you for healthy children. Thank you that I have a supporting and loving husband that leads us well. Thank you, God, for everything that you've given us. So.
Hey friends, we hope that this episode is blessing your socks off right now, and we just want to take an opportunity to talk about partnering together. If Blended Kingdom Families has touched your marriage and touched your blended family in some way, we'd love to partner with you.
At Blended Kingdom Families, we're trying to reach as many blended families as possible, and we can do more with your support. So please take an opportunity to visit blendedkingdomfamilies.com and click partner. Hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Guys, no matter what your situation is, God is absolutely putting his hand on you. When you feel weak, he's the strength behind what keeps you up.
Yeah.
He is.
Wind beneath you.
Yeah. I always think it's crazy when you, especially when you have little ones, surviving on that little of sleep and maintaining your marriage. I remember Vanessa and I, just one quick funny. We have a rule. We had a rule.
Oh yeah.
We had a rule back in the day.
This is a good rule, you
guys.
guys.
This is a great rule.
You were in like the heat season of babies, and you're not sleeping at night.
The rule of thumb is whatever is said between the hours of, I think it was
12 and 6 a.m.
12 and 6 a.m. cannot be counted against you the next day. It was a great rule because there were times when it was like, there were fire coming out of people. You know, I mean, it was really bad. When we were like, no sleep.
I remember.
Yes. So between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m., all this forgiven in the morning. So, guys, Vanessa, thanks so much for sharing a little bit of your testimony about motherhood. Guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in today. Really a blessing, and I just want to say thank you to all the moms out there. You're doing a great job, and keep up the amazing work. Scott and Vanessa Martindale with Blended Kingdom Families. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Be blessed in all that you do.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we get George.
We get George.
We get George.
Hey BKF community, we want to hear from you guys. If you would take the time to leave us a review, and you can find us on all social media platforms. Our podcast is like on every podcast platform, and you can visit us at our website at www.blendedkingdomfamilies.com.
Yeah, guys, we're trying to reach every blended family all over the world, and we can't do this without your partnership. So please take a minute, like, share, comment, review, tell your friends. Tell them they can all go to blendedkingdomfamilies.com for great resources.